Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto. Hope you're all doing great, and welcome to this new video here on Bitcoin. We're going to do a full update. We'll talk about the price action over the last 24 hours. Overnight in the Asian session, we had a bit of a pullback into the value area low, which you can see right here, that blue line. But ultimately, the majority of that pullback, except for the start, was with very, very low volume, and that's also the situation right now. All right. In general, look, tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more about next week, in terms of the economic calendar, in terms of all the news that we can potentially get. But for at least the next 24 hours, I expect Bitcoin to remain very, very stable. All right. The volume right now is incredibly low. If we go back to last week, we had more volatility in the weekend, and we actually had quite high volume in the weekend as well. But last weekend we also had some major news coming out, right? With of course the talks between China and the US, and also the peace talks between Russia and Ukraine, or at least the announcement of which. And I would be surprised if we get those this week as well, or at least this weekend. And so far the weekend has been incredibly low volume, so I would lean towards expecting that, which means we can have moves like this, right? We can have moves within the balance, but ultimately, if you zoom out a little bit more, the main balance of Bitcoin is between, so I'm going to have a little bit of margin, but between 104,500 to the upsides, and then to the downside, let's say 102,500. And I do not expect, unless we get some news, I do not expect that balance to break. All right, I just don't see enough potential to do that, and if we do that, it will probably be a spike on the lower time frames, and we'll accept back into that afterwards. So that also means that, you know, if we're going to get volatility this weekend and there's no news, then I would say it's the best idea to take the opposite direction of the breakout, right? So for example, if Bitcoin starts to get very volatile and spikes up towards 105, I would say shorting is the best idea. And vice versa, if we actually for some reason start to drop down into 101,500 without any reason, like I said, that is very crucial, then I would say long, going in the opposite direction of the breakout, is also the most likely scenario, because I don't see any reason to suspect that the balance is going to break. Now, having said that, so ultimately what I expect for Bitcoin is that we will remain balanced, aka that we will remain in this range on the 4-hour, on the 1-hour time frame. On the higher time frames, I would still say that Bitcoin is bullish, since it is consolidating on top of a major high time frame support level right here at 101,000. However, I do need to change my bias a little bit, I think, right? Because what I've always said to all of you in these videos, and I don't want to make it I don't want to make you too confused in one day saying, all right, I think we're going to get a bullish breakout, and the next day saying, no, I think it's a little bit more likely we're going to get the bearish breakout. Look, in the end, for Bitcoin, it's probabilities, right? You have a certain percentage chance that we're going to get a bullish breakout. You have a percentage chance that we're going to get a bearish breakout. And those percentages always shift. And what we've seen so far is that the 7-day rolling VWAP, which is this line right here, which is normally quite crucial to hold if you want to stay in an uptrend, that has started to break a little bit here and there, all right? Not conclusively yet. So far, we've always been able to reclaim that. But that is a level we do need to stay on top of, all right? And so far, like I said, it's losing its strength, and that makes a bearish breakdown for me a little bit more likely. However, because of the current structure of consolidation on top of a high time frame, a major key level, in combination with the fact that, you know, most of the time we're still holding the 7-day rolling VWAP, I would still say it is most likely from this balance right here that we're going to go for higher highs, right? So I still think what I said yesterday and the day before that as well. I just think that especially the reaction and the loss of momentum, the reaction to the weekly rolling VWAP and the loss of momentum in general is something you need to be aware of, all right? So that is something I'll keep you updated on as well throughout the next couple of days, next weeks maybe, who knows. But that's it for now, all right? I think that's what you need to know regarding Bitcoin, regarding the markets for the next 24 hours. And like I said, tomorrow we're back with more news as well for the upcoming week, because there will be news again. There will be a lot of movement, at least on the lower time frames, at least within this range. But yeah, that's it for now. So thank you for watching. Take care and bye.